Chapter 4, the no trick of negotiation. When we go into a negotiation with someone, we typically want to convince them. We want them to agree to everything we want them to do. And so by that, we want them to say yes to everything that we tell them to do. But getting a yes is most of the time a bad idea. And actually, the no answer is a better answer. That sounds counterintuitive, yes? So let's get into why getting a no or the no trick is a better way to negotiate. So, a successful negotiation is when your counterpart champions your ideas as their own. Like, let's say if I'm trying to tell you to prioritize something and you come back and tell me, hey, we should prioritize that something, then I have actually won that negotiation. It's not that I have to put up a good show to use logic to convince you, but I have to somehow transform the idea being not mine, but the idea is actually now yours if I want to negotiate with you. So remember that trick. It's not that you want to put up a good show that you can say, hey, this is the best way, this is logic, this is important, we should do this, we should prioritize this. But it's actually the other person should say the same language, the same tone, the same urgency that you're trying to convince. So that is a successful negotiation. So let's take that. And so when two people are negotiating, there's things that's outside and there's things that's inside that's going on. Outside, they might be shaking hands as we see in this picture. But inside, they might be like struggling. They might have competing priorities. They might never really want to say yes, but they still said yes because they wanted to just want you to go away. They might be inside having a hidden agenda too. They might not want to do what you want them to do. But you're just so convincing, you put up a good show, you have good statistics, and you really convinced everyone. So they'll say yes, but inside they are no. Right? So behind the scenes there's lots going on. So it's actually in our favor to get to reality as quickly as possible. So let's look at the yes script, wherein you try to get to a yes, 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 this is important, and a no script. And the no script is the getting to know trick. So let's say you want help. I want your help. The yes script will go like this. Do you want to help with this project X? And you can say yes. And internally you might be like, before you even go in and tell me, yes, but there's this, and that. I say, okay, you agree that this is a problem. First you said, I want your help. You said yes. And they say, hey, do you agree this is a problem? Then, they have to say yes because you have data that supports them. And then you would say, hey, do you want to help solving me with this? So yes, yes, yes. Answers all yes. But internally, there's lots of no going on. So the more you don't give your opponent the chance to say no, you're actually missing out. You are missing out on hidden information that they actually want to share with you. But the fact that you go in so strong with all your data, with all your convincing, that you don't even give up that time to them to say no. So instead, what if we switch this completely and ask questions that make the other person say no and make them feel comfortable? Remember, the crux of this chapter is this human need to feel autonomous, feel safe, feel like in control. When you make the other person feel like in control and safe, then they'll want to help you. They'll open up, they'll tell you the real detail. With a no, you are actually giving them that feeling of safety. So let's look at the no script. In the no script, you would say, have you given up on this project? Well, have you given up on this project? Most likely they will say, no, I'm not given up. Let me tell you what's going on. And so they'll open up. You can ask further. Do you want us to fail at this problem solving? Most likely they'll, if they're sleeping and really ignoring you, they'll wake up and like, hey, no, we want to, we don't want to fail. We want to set the right goals. This is important, and let's solve this together. They'll not only now start to listen, they'll also tell you more about what they're seeing, how you can get to a better solution. Once you have gotten the no's, once you build up the no's, at the last question you ask, hey, do you want to help us with setting a right goal here? So now they're in the solution mindset. Yes. So no, yes. So don't get to yes very quickly with the yes script, because that may be too premature. That will get the guards up. People will be like, hey, this guy's a salesman, So you want to keep them in control. You want to give them the power to choose and make decisions. So when you do the no script, you give them that opportunity to open up, give them the opportunity to share with you the details that they're probably hidden. But if you just go yes, 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 there's limited time. People will just, want to say yes and go away, right? So it's a counterfeit yes. So the yes can be of three types. A counterfeit yes is when they actually wanted to say no, but you never gave them the chance. You did not create a safe space for them. So they just say yes. And internally in their mind, they say, I'll never do that. That's the counterfeit yes. The second yes is a confirmation. Yes, I agree that this is a problem. They're at least listening, but there is no commitment to action. So they'll say, yes, this is a problem, but I have 50 other problems, right? So first is a counterfeit, the second is a confirmation. Yes, this is a problem. Yeah, sure. But it's meaningless if they don't take action. So that's the third type of yes, is the commitment yes, where they say it's a problem and they're going to do something about it. So if you, most likely people give you counterfeit no's, counterfeit yeses, then you want to graduate to confirmation yeses. And then eventually you want to graduate to commitment yeses. If you don't, you will just not get what you want. You're just wasting time. So the no trick with the no script, soliciting a no, gets people engaged, gets them to solve the problem. They will not have their guards up. They will want to help you. And it comes down to this deep desire, quite primitive, that's rooted in all of us. It's the desire to have autonomous decision-making capability. Like this need of, I can make a decision and that I'm in control, I feel safe, that you're not here to threaten me. When you give that space, right, when you cater to that emotional need, then people open up. They open up actually much more than you want them to open up. But that's good, because then you're finding out the real details of how can you make progress together. So remember this one piece, if this entire chapter, the no trick, is based on this assumption that people want to feel safe. They want to feel that sense of autonomy on making decisions. And once you remember and understand this theory, it's important to handle the no in the right lens. When we hear no from people, we typically feel it's the end of discussion, everything is bad and done. No, it's not like that. So we have to train our minds to handle the no's, the interpretation of the no's, very differently. When we take a no and we feel bad and sad and and all of that, those negative emotions that you failed, you've not successfully negotiated, that's actually not the case. A no is typically a pause. Say, hey, I'm not convinced yet. Let me tell you more. No moves things forward, because clearly that it's not a counterfeit yes, that it is not a confirmation without a commitment. It's a clear, like, hey, I am telling you clearly. So it brings authenticity. So remember all of these positives of soliciting a no, and then train your mind to say, it's okay, and I'm going to take a no as the start of a negotiation. It's a clear start. As this slide says, a no is a clear start of a negotiation. If you get a yes and no one really does what you want them to do, it's not helpful. You won the negotiation argument, but you never won the action, which is actually important. So getting to a no, soliciting a no, is very important with set of questions and get people engaged. And as I said, no is often temporary. It helps maintain the status quo, right? No change is always better, because everything is fine. People are trying to get as limited change as possible. They want that stability mind feeling. So it provides that sense of protection, autonomy, feeling safe. So use no actually much more. And there are 3 steps, right? Instead of getting a yes, 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 and then eventually they'll never do things, it's actually better to get to a definite no. Build up your set of questions where people will be like, no. You ask them a question like, hey, have you given up on this project, right? They'll say no, most likely, right? So get to set of questions where they'll say no, meaning that it's a clear, like, on the other side. And then you eventually, in the very end, you can ask a question that is a solution-driven question that most likely will be a yes, right? So you could say, hey, no, you want to do something about how do you tell us, maybe a better way to say, you get to no's, and then eventually you ask a question that they'll say yes, which is what you wanted. Like, what steps should we take next to solve this, right? And then they will tell you the solution that you would have told them. So don't tell them the solution, get them to define the solution. But the way you do it is by creating safe space, seeking to understand everything from them, their constraints, which typically happens when you get a no. And when you're asking that last question where you're trying to pivot, you are actually transferring control back to them, saying, hey, how do you want to help us solve this problem, right? What do you want to do about this, right? Then they feel a sense of control. They will feel that, hey, there is this opportunity that is slipping away, that I don't want to miss that opportunity, right? And so loss aversion is another feeling that will come in, that will be counter for the other person to evoke in. Say, hey, transfer that control. When you ask the last question to be, what do you want to do about this? How do you think we should do this problem, or how should we prioritize this? When you transfer that control back, they will actually give you a yes with a commitment. And it's always a better opportunity. So get to a definite no, ask the last question where you're transferring control and getting them to commit to the opportunity that's actually slipping away. And like, I was thinking about this. Are no-based questions too rude for a business setting? It might look good on a book, but like when you're reading this chapter, but like, can you really send an email to someone saying, hey, have you given up on this project? Do you want this project to actually fail, right? It feels a little too direct, but I feel it's too authentic too. It really gets people moving. If they're ignoring you, or if they're really having some hidden agenda that they don't want to tell you, then you can actually use the no trick quite successfully. Whether this works in an email setting or a personal one-to-one setting, that's something you should experiment with. I think it works really well in a personal setting. In an email setting, it can be without context. People can read behind and they might make interpretations. So I want to hear, what do you feel? What do you feel about the no trick? It's a very opposite way of thinking of negotiation, where you create safe space, which I think is phenomenal. But how do you like take out the hidden agenda the other person has, and how do you make them feel that what you want them to do is what they want to do actually? That is the key trick. I want to hear more in comments. It's a win-win negotiation when the other person actually feels and gets it. You're untangling their mind, as this picture shows, right? You have a clear mind, you're trying to untangle, you're trying to understand. In the process, you want them to understand. And so you'll get what you want. It's a win-win situation, but creating that safe space is quite important. So share in comments below what negotiation technique within the no trick worked for you. I shared one where I was trying to prioritize a project, and I actually came in with like, hey, this is why we should do it, this is important, look at this and that. So I was trying to get a yes. And I think with this chapter, I'm going to solicit a more of a no, slightly less direct than the questions in this, but I think it's a very powerful trick to handle the emotions that all of us have. Thanks.